Om Shanti. Hello, good evening to all our viewers today, and especially on the fifth chapter that we'll be listening today. And it is a wonderful time that we have been having all this time listening to the secrets of Gita, and especially how it is helpful to all of us during the challenging times. Gita, I have always seen as a source of inspiration. It has inspired me a lot. It has taught me so much in my life, especially whenever I think of some of the words that are said by God Himself in Gita. It gives me like energy. God's words are so powerful, and so it gives me some energy. And that is how I have always kept myself motivating, even in various types of situations that I had encountered with. So, in the fifth chapter, till now, we have seen that in first chapter, how he was in the state of misery. Then, in the second chapter, how he got the knowledge of the soul and the immortality and the eternity of the existence of the soul, and the real potential and the capabilities of the soul. So, how can he use those capabilities in his practical actions so that he can lead a karma yogi life with a balanced state of mind and intellect? In the third chapter, again, how God inspired him to have victory upon his sense organs, because it is the sense organs and the attractions of the sense organs that makes the mind also wander. So how he can gain victory upon that mind and really take charge of his own life. Together with that, we also saw that the sacrificial fire is meant to purify the self, to purify our sense organs, and to purify our each and every karma that we do. So the other aspect of being a karma yogi, in the fourth chapter, then Arjuna had many questions regarding the ascension of God. And he asked him, how is it that he comes onto this world? Whom did he first give this knowledge to? And then the importance of Jnana Yoga, that is the yoga of knowledge. How that knowledge has to be practically applied. In the fifth chapter today, we shall see Sannyas Yoga and Karma Yoga, the yoga of renunciation and being a yogi while in action. So Arjuna has a question in his mind where he's asking God, which is better? Should I renounce this world and then only can I be a yogi? Or should I be a yogi whilst in action? So beautifully explains that both the yoga of renunciation and karma yoga are elevated. Because when a person performs actions without hatred towards anyone, nor does he aspire for any fruit of his action, he is always worthy to be known as a renunciate. And beautifully he mentions further, it is not the action that one has to renunciate, but the attitude behind the action that binds or liberates the person. Because when a person does any bad action, when a person does any negative action, originally, first, it emerges in the mind. His attitude becomes such And then only he can perform that negative action. So God says, we do not have to renounce actions, but we have to renounce that negative attitude. Whenever we are doing any actions, we have to renounce the attachment to the fruit of that action. Many a times people have this attachment with the fruit. Whatever action I do, I should get the fruit of this action. So the attachment to that is there. So he says, let the action be such that it is having an unlimited mentality when we perform, for benefiting all the souls around us. Let them also enjoy the fruits of whatever actions, elevated actions we have done. And we should free ourselves from the negative attitude, negative mentality, negative vision that we hold towards any person. That is true karma yoga. That is sannyas yoga also. Sannyas does not mean that I leave everything, I leave my household, I leave my relationships, I go into the jungle and I'm away from this whole world and I call myself as a renunciate. Because even if I have renunciate everything physically, and even if I go to the jungles, but through my mind, I'm holding on to those attractions, those things which I have given up. And again in my mind, oh, I remember all those things. Oh, I have renounced this, I've renounced that. If I'm still attached in my mind, I'm not a renunciate. I cannot meditate. I cannot do yoga because it will be constantly disturbing me in my mind. So God says you don't have to give up anything in physical form. People do give up physically, relationships, household, everything, business, everything. Why? Because they feel if I'm still attached in this business, maybe I cannot focus my mind. But mind is so subtle. Even if a person physically renunciates everything, but if he is not able to control his mind, in his meditation also is constantly pulled by all those attractions in such a way that again and again it will emerge in his mind, and that will be a very disturbing process. So it is better not to give up than to rather hold from here. So God says it is not the action, but the attitude behind the action that binds or liberates the person. That is what is binding us. But if I'm amongst all of that, but if I'm mentally free, then my attitude is like for the entire world in an unlimited sense. I am dwelling through my mind. I can focus my mind. All these physical comforts, physical things do not hold me, do not pull me, do not pull my mind and intellect. That is a true renunciate. So God says the renunciation of duty or action is not renunciation. Renunciation is to let go of the hatred, animosity, greed, desire, lust, anger. This is true renunciation. But mostly people adopt renunciation at a physical level, and at the subtle level, through their thoughts, they are still pulled by this viciousness. So a true karma yogi is a true renunciate also, because he gives up all these ill feelings, all these negativities through his mind also, and his mind is not catching hold of all those things. Further, he says, renunciation cannot be attained without karma yoga. True renunciation can only come when there is true karma yoga. When we literally are a yogi in action, that is the time when I focus my mind and intellect on the Supreme Being. I gradually renounce everything through my thoughts. Nothing is pulling me. So renunciation cannot be attained without karma yoga. If a person physically renounces everything and goes into the jungle, and he feels I can focus my mind, maybe for some time he can focus also, but the mind is such a naughty horse. And so it can wander anywhere. And the moment it starts wandering and it remembers any of its things which he was very close to, he cannot focus his mind. His mind will be completely wandering. And that is when literally the frustration starts. So the one who has mastered his senses by being the embodiment of yoga, such a pure soul visualizes all living beings as souls. Instead of looking at the bodies, if I'm able to visualize that there is an immortal, indestructible, eternal soul, a beautiful soul in each and everyone's forehead, if I start visualizing that, then it becomes easy for me to take my attitude in the vastness. That is the time when I can elevate myself from a physical plane to a higher plane, which is known as the soul conscious plane, and visualizing each and every one as souls. His mind is within his control and understands himself to be distinct from his senses, understands himself to be the master of his senses. And if I'm a master, I know how to control my sense organs. My sense organs cannot control me while performing actions through them. So he surrenders all the fruits of his actions to God and remains free from the bondage of karma while performing karma. So the true feeling of surrender can emerge only when he is soul conscious, when he considers himself to be the master of the senses. And that is the time when he surrenders everything. Even while he performs actions, he surrenders those actions also in the name of God. He does not desire of getting the name and fame of those actions also. He does not desire to attain the fruits of those actions which he has performed. But whenever anybody praises him, appreciates him, that also with true heart, he surrenders it to God. It reminds me of an incident. Many years back, I was in Bombay, and you might have heard the name of Lata Mangeshkar, the Nightingale of India, whose voice is so sweet, and she has sang so many songs. People are so much appreciating her sang songs also. It happened so that she was celebrating her 75 glorious years in singing. And she had organized a big event. And she gave out passes to some of the VIPs. And to the Brahma Kumaris also, we had received some passes from her. So it was a good opportunity to meet all the celebrities and all the VVIPs there. So we also went on that occasion of the celebration of her 75 glorious years in singing. And during that time, she just mentioned her experience, how she got into this singing line. So when she started, she said something very beautiful, which I always appreciate. And she said that the first time I sang a song, the first song of my life in a studio, and as I was singing, there was another singer, a very big singer of those times, of her times, who was also a beautiful singer. So she was listening to her because she was going to sing after her, I think. So she was listening to her. And as she finished singing that song, and she just came out, that singer, she started appreciating. She was quite old, and Lata Mangeshkar was just hardly 15 years in age. So she appreciated and she praised her that you have a very good voice. And may God always shower his blessings upon you. She was praising her in that way. And in front of a big singer of that time, so Lata Mangeshkar very naturally said, I am nothing in front of you. And the moment she said, I'm nothing in front of you, that lady, who was basically a Pakistani lady, she said, child, whenever anybody appreciates you, praises your voice, never ever utter these words, I'm nothing. This is a negative clause for the self. And the moment you say, I'm nothing, you devaluate yourself. You generate negative vibrations for the self, which slowly and gradually leads you towards nothing. But whenever anybody appreciates you, you should not become egoistic also by accepting it immediately and thinking, oh, I am everything. That is also wrong. Both of these are extremes. But beautifully she said, whenever anybody appreciates you, always surrender that appreciation to God and tell them it is his blessings that has made me sing this song so beautifully. So you would not even have ego, because again, ego is negative vibrations generating for the self that will make you fall sometime or the other. And there's no need for you to say, I'm nothing, because you are something. God has blessed you with this voice. She said that I always remember, whenever I sing, I remember her words. So anyone, whenever appreciates my singing, anyone who praises me, praises my voice, from that day onwards, I've always been surrendering that praise to him. And this is why I have reached this stage, she said. And I took inspiration from whatever she said at that time. And that had inspired me also so much and reminded me of the words that we are taught in Brahma Kumaris. Whenever anybody praises, keep the Creator in front and let him be glorified. Always appreciate and say it is because of him. And you will see yourself also progressing in life. And this is what I have experienced in my life. My progress is because every time I surrender all those appreciation and praises to the Supreme, the Creator, who has blessed me with all that extraordinary gifts. And every one of us has received some or the other extraordinary gift. Some are aware of it and they develop them in his name on the basis of his strength. And some of them are not aware of it. And some of them, they take all the credit for themselves. That is when their progress stops. This is sannyas yoga. Having this attitude of complete surrender. Whenever, definitely whatever we speak or whatever we do, whenever anybody spots that speciality, that special thing, that magical thing in our action, they will definitely praise it. And at that moment, if I surrender from inside, there's no need for me to speak out loudly also, but internally, or if I can, at least tell them it is his blessings. That is making me be like this. He has made me. So the moment I offer all that to God without any selfishness, that is being a renunciate. And if a person in the world who has reached the heights shared this secret that I've reached the heights because every time, whenever anybody appreciated, I have surrendered that praise to him. And I've always thanked him from the bottom of my heart that thank you for making me like this. So it's a wonderful thing. Any great soul in this world does not achieve that greatness without him. If he is there, and every time I put him in before me, then definitely every time you go on progressing. This is experience. So he says that he surrenders all the fruit of his actions to God and remains free from the bondage of karma. Because the moment I surrender, I am free from the bondage. The moment I accept all the praise and everything, that is creating a bondage. Maybe a good bondage, but still bondage is a bondage. Even for good karma also, there is a bondage, which I will have to go through, which I will have to reap. But the moment I surrender it to him, I liberate myself. And I become like a free bird. That is true freedom. That is true freedom. Where there is no bondage, no cage that I have created, or no, even a golden cage for myself. Good karma, if that also becomes bondage, then that is also like a parrot in a golden cage. But when a parrot is in the golden cage, still it is bondage. Such a deep philosophy Gita gives us, deep understanding of how we have to be in this world to keep ourselves free from these bondages. And beautifully, he has said this. So remains free from the bondage of karma while performing karma. Just as a lotus, the example is, just as a lotus always stays above the water. Similarly, all the actions of a karma yogi are for the purification of the soul while staying in this body of 9 doors. 9 doors, 2 eyes. Each and every door that is opening, he masters his mind, intellect, and sanskaras through which he experiences the highest state of peace and happiness. Because when a person is free, is liberated, he experiences peace and happiness, complete relaxation. Like the real ecstasy of life, the bliss of life can be experienced, not just happiness, ecstasy. So like a lotus, and that is why lotus is always offered to God. Hardly anyone would keep a lotus in the house, in a vase or anything. Everyone would like to keep roses, different flowers, tulips, etc. But lotus is always offered to God. Why? Because it has this deep significance that although it grows in a dirty, muddy water, but still the mud of that water, the dirt of that water cannot even stay on the petals of the lotus. It immediately slides down and the lotus is like complete pure. So similarly, when such a soul who lives in this world, dirty world, but still the dirt cannot touch the mind and intellect of that soul, that is a true renunciate. Does not have to renounce everything, only renounce the evils, only renounce the ill feelings towards others. Then further he mentions and explains a beautiful thing here, an eye-opening aspect which is there, and said God neither creates the consciousness of being doers of action in men, nor creates the cause of action, nor the attainments of the fruits of those actions, but his actions are according to the pressures and influences of the nature. Since childhood, in the world, normally, especially in India, we are given these teachings since childhood by our parents or maybe by the religious people, that it is God's wish. God's wish. Whenever we do something good, God's wish that you are able to do this. If something bad happens, it's God's will. God's will, God's wish, he is the doer of everything. If somebody dies, that also is God's wish or God's will. He has done this. So all the blames of anything that happens in our life are always put onto God. It's God's will or God's desire, God's wish. And here in Gita he says, I do not do anything. I neither create the consciousness of being doer of the action in the men, nor creates the cause of the action. Like somebody is traveling on the road, meets with an accident. And what do people say? God's will. If that fruit has come, or if that cause for an accident is there, that also is God's will. How can that be? And nor the attainments of the fruits of those actions. If somebody receives any fruits, oh, it's God's will. So he has specially mentioned this in Gita. I do not create the consciousness of being a doer of action in men, neither create the cause of action, nor the attainments of the fruits of those actions. He is completely detached. He does not interfere with our actions at all. Let me just clarify here one deep aspect, that when human beings come to this world, God gives us two gifts. He blesses us with two gifts. Whenever we descend to play our role on this eternal world drama, He blesses us with two gifts. And which are these two gifts? The first gift is He blesses us with an intellect, a very powerful intellect, which can judge what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Intellect is so powerful. It has a very powerful radar system that can catch vibrations, which is known as the inner voice or the conscious of the soul. And therefore it is always said, the conscious would always give you the right answer. If a person is in a dilemma, what to do, what not to do, he's not able to understand, people would rather advise that person, take a deep breath, go within, listen to your conscious. And your conscious would always tell you the right thing to do. Do not ignore the inner voice. So each and every one is blessed with this powerful intellect when we come to earth. The second thing that we are blessed with is freedom of choice. Now you have been blessed with this intellect, which is so powerful, will always guide you, will always show you the right path, give you true decisions. Don't ignore it. And after listening to that inner voice, then you have the freedom to choose, to make the choice. Whether you want to hear the voice of your conscious or whether you want to ignore, you have the freedom. You are the master. And that is why, supposing there is a young child, very small child, maybe 3 years or 4 years of age, and you speak a lie in front of that child. And the child can also immediately sense and will tell you, you are not speaking the truth. You are saying a lie. Very bad. Doesn't the child tell you? His intellect, his inner voice is saying. And many a times, elders, they speak a lie. And when the child tells them it is a lie, it's not good habit. My mom said this, not good habit, speaking a lie. You always hear these words from young children. And what will the elders tell them? You don't understand, be quiet. You don't know what is happening. So those parents who have always advised their children to speak the truth, but in front of their children, due to certain circumstance or situation, when they speak lies, and these small children understand and they say, why are you speaking lies? Very bad. And at that moment, sometimes if the father gets angry and slaps the child, be quiet, don't speak in between. When the elders are talking, don't speak. And the child does not understand. He feels, but my conscience says he's speaking a lie. And he tells me, I don't understand. Why can't I understand? I understand. Have you seen such scenes in your life with children? These things happen. These things happen. Means the conscience of that child is also saying this is not good. But when he got the slap, you don't understand, be quiet. Don't have to speak in between when elders are talking, etc., etc. Then, when the child grows 1 year older, he feels, now I'm old enough to understand everything. Then he remembers when such things happen, we can speak a lie. So he speaks a lie. And when he speaks a lie, again he gets another slap. Speaking lies, very bad. So then he thinks, when you were doing that, and when I said the same thing, you slapped me. I don't understand. Now when I have done the same thing, why do you have to say this to me again? I'm grown up now, I'm old enough. This is what the children feel. So every child, every soul that takes birth on this world is blessed with these two gifts. A very powerful conscience, inner voice, and intellect, which can understand right and wrong, which can understand what is true, what is bad, and the freedom of choice. Now it is my choice. I can choose what I want in my life. Whether I want to follow the path of truthfulness, whether I want to follow the path of falsehoodness, it's my choice. Nobody else's choice. So God has given this freedom. He does not interfere. He does not interfere. He says, you are the masters, you can understand. Why should I interfere? If I have to interfere, then I have to interfere in all the souls of this world, which is going to create a great chaos. So he says, I have given you the intellects with wisdom full in it, and I have given you the freedom. Now you are the masters. You can choose whatever you want to do. But remember, what you do, what you sow, so shall you reap. He has explained us the law of karma also. Whatever you're going to do, whatever choice you make, be cautious, because you are going to experience the fruits of those actions also. Nobody else. If not now, a little later. But nobody can get liberated from their bondage of action. They will have to experience the fruit of it sooner or later. Sooner or later. So where is God's role? It's not God's wish. It's not God's will. His will is always to do everything the best. But he has given this freedom to the human beings. Let them choose the path they want to adopt and they want to walk on. So that is why he said, he neither creates a consciousness of being doers of action in men, nor creates the cause of action, nor the attainments of the fruit of those actions. But his actions are according to the pressures and influences of the nature. What type of nature I have selected for myself. Is it a pure nature, a semi-pure nature, or an evil nature? It all depends upon me. And on the basis of this pressure of nature, or under the influence of evil nature, pure nature, I perform my actions. So I am responsible for each and every action that I perform. And I will have to experience through those actions, whatever I am going to perform. Nowhere is God's will or God's wish. If it was God's wish and God's will, then this world would never deteriorate from the values. Human beings would never deteriorate from their values, never degrade themselves in values, because God's wish and will is perfection. We know in the world also, if there is a perfectionist, he wants everything perfect. His will and wish is all everything perfect. He will never allow anything just, okay, chaos can go on, no problem, this can, no. He's a perfectionist. Even each and everything has to be kept in the house maybe, or in the drawer, everything on its own place. That is perfectionist. If God is most perfectionist, then his wish and will be never ever to allow this world go in a degraded stage. Today, if this world is degrading, it is because of human wish, human will, which is making the world also go into a hell-like state. God's wish and will can never take us into a hell-like state. So this is something which has to be understood very clearly. I am responsible for all my actions, and so I will have to repay for them. God is not responsible for my actions. I have to take this responsibility on myself. I cannot blame God for whatever is happening in my life. Yes, I can surrender all the good fruits to Him. But that does not mean that He is going to do everything. He will interfere with my actions. Like even in your home. If I take this example, in your home, you have two kids, two children. And as they grow up, once they come in their teens, and they feel as if now they are grown up, and you start pointing out to them, look, put your things here, put your things there. If you interfere in everything that they are doing, what are they going to tell you? They will say, Mom, we are grown up now. You don't have to point out at every single thing. We know what we have to do. Please. Wouldn't your children say this? That is why it is said, after 16, even if you want to advise your child, you have to be a friend, not a parent. You have to be a friend to him. And then he will listen to you. But if you are going to be a parent and interfere with whatever he is doing, he will get irritated. He may leave the home. He feels as if you are interfering at every small thing also. And this cannot go on with me. It's really irritating. So similarly, if God is going to interfere with each and every small things in my life, many a times people will say, if you want to move your hand, then also you cannot lift your hand without God's will. Now, supposing if I lift this hand and if it goes and slaps somebody, is it God's will? Is it God's wish? Oh, I have to take that responsibility. So this is why he says, I've given the intellect and I've given the freedom of choice. Now you are responsible for all your actions that you are going to perform. Now know where God is responsible. A bodily soul performs actions according to his natural independent desire. Therefore, he is responsible for it and accordingly experiences the fruits of his actions. God is not responsible for anyone's charitable or sinful actions. When the ignorance of human soul conceals his wisdom, they get bewildered in the attachment vices and forget their real identity and begin to think that God is responsible for their actions. This is the biggest ignorance. But when ignorance gets dispelled through wisdom, that is why knowledge is said to be light. When the light of knowledge is there, then the darkness of ignorance dispels and we are able to understand everything as it is. And then we'll be able to take up the responsibility also of our actions. So when the ignorance gets dispelled through wisdom, then everything becomes clear and all aspects are clearly understood as everything is clearly visualized when the sun shines. It is just like the sun shines and everything can be seen accurately. Similarly, knowledge is such a sun. In the light of knowledge, we can see everything as it is. Then he says further, the sensual pleasures obtained through the senses have been the reason for all the misery from the beginning till the end in human life. The one who tolerates the force of lust and anger and remains free from it is a powerful soul. A real yogi is able to stabilize his mind and intellect in God, in God's remembrance, and seeks his protection with a lot of faith. He has equanimity in his vision towards all. Thus, he is able to live in this world liberated from attachment and doubt. He is able to experience infinite happiness through the concentration of mind. When we have that mastery, then we can control our feelings, our desires, our senses. Everything is under my control. And I can experience that liberation in life. One is liberation from life. One is liberation in life. Two different things. Liberation from life is when I leave this body. When a person dies, he gets liberated. Liberation from life. But higher than liberation from life is liberation in life. Just as if a person is in deep sleep and he doesn't know what is happening around him because he's in very deep sleep. People may be laughing, cracking jokes, but he's in a deep sleep, deep slumber, not at all aware of what is going around him. And after he wakes up, and people tell him, did you realize so many things happened here? I said, no. I think today I was in a very deep sleep. Very deep sleep. And I had a very sound sleep. He experiences the deep sleep not while he was sleeping, but after he comes out of that sleep, he experiences how deep sleep he was sleeping in. That also, when everybody makes him aware of what was going on here, how people were laughing and cracking jokes and everything, and he knew nothing about it. And he'll say, well, I think I was very tired, so I was in that deep slumber and I didn't realize what was happening. The same thing. Liberation from life has no experience. You're liberated and that's it, you're gone. So there is no experience. Even if you are sitting in the soul world near God, no experience. No experience, that deep sleep. But the real experience is in life. If I am liberated from the pulls of the senses, from the desires, from the attachments, from the misery, from the force of lust and anger, then only we are true yogis, real yogis, powerful soul, when we are able to maintain a balance and experience that real freedom in life. That is what has to be experienced. Infinite happiness through the concentration of mind. And every moment we will feel as if we are under his canopy of God, with a lot of faith. And every time feel protected, as if we are under his canopy of protection, where we see each and every soul with that soul vision. There is no discrimination in our vision, because all the souls are the children of God. Body maybe, some are white, some are black, some are various colors. But when the soul vision is there, when I visualize each and everyone as a soul, this body just as a costume. Today I may be wearing a white costume. Tomorrow I may be wearing a black costume. That does not make any difference. It is upon the person, how he behaves. If he is good with everyone, he is loved by all. If he maybe has a very good outfit, but is very bad in nature, in his behavior, everybody moves away from him, and that is when he feels as if left alone in this world. So similarly, we have to attain that mastery on our senses. That is liberation in life. I am not subservient to the senses. They cannot just pull me anywhere. I'm not a slave of the senses. But true freedom is when I master them and they follow my directions, not pull me in different directions, right? So this is what a true renunciate, a true yogi is. And that is described by God in this chapter. So I know you have enjoyed all the sessions, listening to something very deep, secrets also. But today we shall finish our sessions here itself. And whenever time permits, we shall continue again with the further secrets, unveiling the secrets, the mysteries of whatever has been said by God in Gita. As Gita is appreciated around the world, everyone wants to know the wisdom that is in Gita, the secrets in Gita, and how they can be applied during challenging times. The special thanks to all our viewers who have been listening to us and who has created that zeal and enthusiasm in us to bring this special sessions to all of you. So our special thanks to all the listeners, all the viewers on YouTube, on Zoom, or whichever technique they are watching this program. So special thanks to everyone. So we end this session with a few minutes of meditation. So let us sit completely relaxed and consider the self as a soul. This body is a beautiful instrument that I've received to play my role. I am the master of my sense organs. Being a true karma yogi, I am the master of my mind, intellect, sanskaras, and physical senses. But at the same time, I'm a true renunciate who have renounced all the negativities, ill feelings, selfishness, ego, lust, anger, hatred, animosity. Being a master of the sense organs, when I perform actions, I surrender the praise and appreciation to the Supreme. And I can feel the real freedom, experience the real freedom in my life. Liberation in life. What a beautiful experience it is. I feel so light. and my mind just flies to the Supreme Being, who is also a radiating light. I can feel the closeness, as if being under the canopy of His blessings. Feel so protected from all the evils of this world. I'm so fortunate to have this wisdom. With the light of the knowledge, all the darkness of ignorance dispels, where I can understand everything so clearly. Confusion creates misery. In the light of knowledge, there is no confusion, so no misery. I can feel the peace, happiness, and eternal bliss. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.